That's
They can
kind of
always choose
the
not to. Yeah.
beauty of technology with it.
Well, it says we're recording, so we'll see how it goes. Well, but thank you. It's great to see you again, and
Yeah.
thanks for taking some time, like you just said before I hit record. You're busy this weekend, which feels good. Where are your gigs this weekend?
We're at the Rieger Friday and Saturday, and then we're going to be out at Paxico in the Flint Hills Sunday, 2 to 5, and that should be invigorating. It's a great gig. It's beautiful. As you know, I'm a big fan of the Flint Hills, and it's just it's a real good gig. It's very relaxing. We just we don't use a set list or anything like that. We just show up and create smiles, man. That's the whole thing.
So I've known you a long time, but I don't know if other people that might watch this could say that as well. But for those that don't, I've known how much you love the Flint Hills. So tell me, where did that come from? Why do you love the Flint Hills? Are you from there? What brought you and the Flint Hills together?
Uh, okay, so I moved from St. Louis to Emporia, Kansas in my senior year of high school, right like in the middle.
Uh,
And met some folks there who they kept mentioning the Flint Hills, and I thought it was a park. Like, being a city boy, I thought we'd show up at a parking lot and go explore the Flint Hills. And
like Forest Park. You can say
right, yeah, yeah, exactly like that. And so one time they said, "Hey, why don't we all head out there?" So we went out there, and I just couldn't believe it. It was I never felt anything like that. I never felt scenery like that, and just kept going back. But then later on, one of those friends, he ended up living out there. And give you an idea, he was 17 miles from the nearest mailbox.
wow,
That's out there.
it's out there.
And and he was really educated about the Flint Hills, the history of it, the geology of it, the what the neighbors were up to, you know, and how the cow he actually he'd get on a horse and help run cattle. I mean, it was quite the thing. And so I'd go out there as a city boy, but we'd go hiking, ice fishing, mountain biking, cruising, whatever. And I got to do I'm going there this next weekend, as a matter of fact. And anytime I need to be reminded of who I am, I go out there and listen for it. It's great. We all
I
have a place like that.
right, and I can say it. That is a special place, and you can just feel something different there when you're out there.
Yeah.
And unless you've been there, it's hard to tell somebody how that is. I felt the same way, like up in South Dakota, and when you're out there on the like you said, for miles and miles, there's nobody around, and it's a interesting feeling, and you can just kind of hear the history and hear the I don't know, there's voices in the wind almost.
That's a good way to put it, because it's kind of like when you stand by the ocean, you look out and you realize, wow, it's looked like this for a long time. When Jesus looked out at the ocean, it looked like that.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and although it's been changed out there because of the cattle and all that stuff, it's for I don't know how long, but since the natives had learned to burn fires to clear land and for the buffalo, it's basically looked like that and sounded like that and smelled like that and felt like that. And there's also this, I don't know if you've had this experience, that if you drive through and look at it, you really just get, wow, it's beautiful. If you stop and take pictures, you can feel the wind and you get the idea that it's really quiet. But if you hang out there, like sometimes I go out there for 5 days and stay at this guy's cabin. If you go out there, something weird happens on like the third day, that it's a totally different place. And there's a connection inside that wakes up. And you kind of get that camping too, that the third day of camping, the same place looks different than the first day of camping, because you settle down and
For sure.
some of those those senses wake up. But yeah, thanks for asking though. It's it's something I hope to do until
So,
one of us disappear, me or it.
well, yeah, and hopefully neither disappearing anytime soon. So,
That's right.
let me ask you. So, since we've we keep in pretty good touch just through social media, kind of know what's going on in our lives, but I don't know, we've really had this discussion, but obviously the challenge of the pandemic and COVID has had a big impact on everybody. But for particularly, I'm always concerned about artists and musicians and such. So how have you
Yeah.
persevered? How are you holding up? Tell me about that.
I'm doing well, Tim, and hopefully you are too. I've heard you kick out some creative endeavors that really my greatest compliments. And that last one you put out, it's so musically mature and creative. I thought, this extra spare time hasn't been bad for Tim.
Well, thank you. I have had opportunities to do things that I haven't had in some extra time. So for sure. So
Yeah. And that's,
what about you?
well, from the beginning, and we're approaching what's the date today, the 5th. We're approaching, I think it was on either the 13th or the 23rd when we played our last gig in Lawrence and came home, and in a 3-day period, like everybody else, in a 3-day period, we woke up and found that all of the bars had closed. And then the next day, restaurants and other businesses had closed,
Right.
and the streets were like Christmas Day with quietness. But then the next day, we learned that all of our gigs were canceled. And which was a weird experience because it wasn't always through communication. You just heard that, you didn't need to communicate. It was just known that all flights to having fun in public were rescheduled.
Right.
But right away, I thought I was pretty naive to it. I thought that it was, here's how naive I was. I thought this is the one time that the Republicans and the Democrats will have to come together because lives are at stake. I couldn't believe how wrong I was about that. And I won't go down that path, but that's where my frame of mind was on the duration of it. And I thought, well, let's use this. I kept saying to Myra, I said, let's use this time to become the best duet that we can possibly be. Let's absolutely not give it a break. This is a great opportunity. So when we come back, we've got fun stuff. We're well rehearsed. We're ready to entertain. And time went by, and May came, and we got word that, hey, this could go on until the end of the summer. Whoa! And I was like, oh wow, okay, this is a great opportunity. I can arrange some new pieces. We can rehearse more. We've got vocal work we desperately need to do. So let's get busy. Let's get it going. And we did get this gig out in the Flint Hills, in Paxico. It's Prairie Fire Winery, and really my greatest respect to Bob and Julie there. They went ahead and set up a totally safe outdoor performance area, and they were very strict about the rules. As we didn't want to invite anybody to come and hear us play if it wasn't safe for everybody. We didn't really so much care as like, are we safe? We wanted to invite people, so we didn't want to,
Right.
play anywhere that it wasn't perfectly safe. And they provided a great spot, where you could sit outside and spread out, look at the Flint Hills. We were totally distanced from them. So we had something to prepare for. And that's always motivating. Even if it's in the distance, I'm very like, let's act like it's this weekend. So let's
Mhm.
rehearse. So we kept that going, and really just the same pattern kept going. That for a while, Paxico was our only gig, and I just kept saying, "This is a great opportunity to, like you heard me say." But I also I'm finishing up writing a book. So that's one thing I did with my time. And and
Wow.
hopefully everybody can say they got in better shape because we had the time to do it. So I got in, I kept running like you. Well, not like you, but I kept running.
Oh, come on.
I won't go there. I won't plug for you that you run more than an antelope. But so then the fall came around and we got invited to play at the Rieger, which is an indoor gig. And I don't know if you know, but the Rieger made thousands of gallons of hand
I
sanitizer.
love that stuff. It smells like bourbon.
Right, right, right.
Love it. Yeah.
And they were so supportive. And I mean, they were one of the first people to turn their facility into a hand sanitizer
Yeah.
manufacturer because they wanted to keep their employees employed, which I think they did, unless I'm missing something there. But they invited us to come in and play, and we knew it would be safe because they're very conscious of it, and so now that's the gigs we got. And this weekend, that's why we're playing the Rieger
Mhm.
2 nights and then playing Paxico. We are going to play out at Strong City the next weekend at Astra. And I went down my checklist. It's safe. I'm we had a couple of experiences that I won't say where we played, but the counties were much more lenient, and we were rather shocked, quite honestly, by how lenient, and it wasn't real comfortable. We got invited out to play, and we were promised that yes, it's everything's fine. Well, I think and sometimes when you get everything's fine, it's an opinion, not a strategy.
Mhm. Right.
I'll leave that at that. But so we ended up filling in a few gigs. If they weren't outside, we didn't play. If it wasn't totally safe, we didn't play. So it's been limited. But yeah, in the meantime, we've come up with some no bow tie arrangements that I'm really proud of. One in particular, or two actually. One is
I don't
it's
mean to
really
leave you a second. My computer came unplugged. Hang on a second.
yeah, you bet.
I don't want to lose my power here. Okay. All right, we're good.
Good.
Sorry about that.
No, no problem. What was I saying? Oh, we've come up with some more arrangements, no bow tie arrangements, and
Right.
that. And so it's been a good opportunity to spend a little more time on them.
Hmm.
So the vocals that we've put in are more meaningful vocals, or they have more. I'm going to say they have more substance to the piece rather than we do a lot of oohs and ahs. And when you saw us at the Rieger, there was no singing.
Right.
Because they wanted to be safe. Again, they're very respectful that way, that they didn't want musicians singing out.
Right. Spreading
So,
their,
so you
yeah.
didn't get to hear any of the new vocals. And one of them that we're really, really happy with is it's a piece from the opera Coronization of Poppaea, and it's from the middle of the 1600s, which is when opera was invented. And I don't know, Tim, if you ever did the research, but opera, I thought it was developed over time. It was actually invented, like basically in a few years, it was invented.
I didn't know
And
that. Somebody just had an
yeah,
idea.
yeah, and like in a 10-year period, it was popular. And it was right in the middle of the 1600s. And the composer, oh, his name slips my mind right now. The Coronization of Poppaea. I'll think of it in a moment, but
I'll
uh,
look it up while you're talking here.
yeah, please do. I can't believe I'm forgetting this, um, and I can't blame it on being before noon either. But there was one piece in there called Oblivion, and I don't know if it's pronounced that or Oblivion, probably, but it's just a beautiful piece. And
Monteverdi.
Montefiore, thank you.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of that guy. So yeah, he was like one of the first opera guy of note, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, right. Well, I played guitar in this opera years ago, 25 years ago. I played guitar in the opera, and what it was so cool. It had a harpsichord player, and to make, harpsichords don't have any dynamics. They can't get loud or soft.
Right.
So what they did is back then they would double up with another harpsichord when it was supposed to be louder. Well, they didn't have a second harpsichord. It was at UMKC, and instead of a harpsichord, they brought in two guitar players, me being one of them, and we doubled up what the harpsichord was doing, but only on the first three strings.
Hmm.
And we would just play almost like block chords. We would play on the first three strings.
It means the bottom three or the top three of
Uh,
which.
Strings one, two, and three. So the thinnest strings.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the E and the B um, and the G.
Thank you, Tim.
Is that
You
right?
almost, you almost signed up for free lessons. Yes, that's right. And because they have a very similar tone, especially when you play further back,
Right.
they have a similar tone as a harpsichord. So it worked out great. But I remember sitting in the orchestra pit, and every time this piece came on, what it was, I'll see if I can keep the story short. The back then they had nurses that were like the equivalent of a butler. They took care of things.
Mm.
They cooked. They made sure the kids were dressed. They
Yeah.
were called nurses. And keep in mind, back then, the everyone in the opera was male, even if playing a female part.
Oh, that was before females were allowed to sing.
Correct, and that is where we came up with the soprano castrata.
Right.
And so the nurse, the story, I could be slightly wrong, but it's something of that Popea. Something was found out where if she didn't come to certain terms with royalty, that her family was being threatened, and one of the solutions was that she kill herself.
Wow.
And so
It's
the
heavy.
nurse found her in the garden, and the nurse didn't know that she was sleeping, that she was napping. The nurse thought that she had done herself in. And so the nurse breaks into this beautiful piece called Oblivion. And every time in the opera that this piece, I would just lose track of time. I just sit and listen to this. It was so beautiful. And the singer in the opera that I was in, his name was Nathan Granner. And he did a falsetto of this piece. And I mean, every time I hear it, it's so beautiful. And he captured it. I've heard other people sing it and they sing it well, but something resonated in me when he sang it. And then years later, I was like, there's, something can be done with No Bow Tie without just redoing the tune. And as you know, we don't just redo tunes, we somehow distort it, sometimes offensively.
Hey, now you're deep into the blasphemy here already.
Right, right. I like to change it so a classical purist would argue it. That's kind of what we do. And so I took kind of a J.J. Cale groove that I wrote, but a groovy little thing in minor, and put a melody from the Oblivion to it, and it just worked out beautifully. That's one of the pieces. The other piece that we did, I hesitate to explain in words because it's not as descriptive, but it's a piece by Egberto Gismonti and the Assad brothers. Are you familiar with the Assad brothers?
Yeah, I've heard of the Assad brothers.
Yeah, quite possibly the greatest duet of our time. And they had this one piece. I forget what it's called, but it's by Egberto Gismonti. I had it stacked here. But another one that it was really energetic and kind of modern. And I just every time I heard it, it was actually so complicated that I didn't think it would be suitable for no bow tie. And so what I did, actually, it was kind of an interesting endeavor. Instead of getting the sheet music to the piece and rearranging how I think no bow tie could do it, I just took the concept of the piece, the motion of the energy and the dynamics and stuff, and wrote my own thing to it. And I don't claim it as my own because I really did follow its structure in with great intent of capturing it, the flow of it. So I didn't just sit down and write something and go, oh, it's similar. I really used it to write my own thing. And in the end, it really worked out, but we I couldn't find a good bass line for it because it doesn't have one. And as you know, and that's great opportunity for no bow tie. Hey, it doesn't have this. Let's create one.
There you go.
So I literally I did steal this. I stole the bass line from Psycho Killer. Bump
Hmm.
bump 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 bump, that bass line.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't start like Psycho Killer, but that's the bass line while I'm grooving on this lick. And Myra, she does that for a while. And, we change keys and we get away from it and then come back to it. But that one's been the most fun because of how challenging it is. And we were up late last night rehearsing it, as a matter of fact.
Is it ready to premiere?
Well, we're gonna premiere it.
All right. Ready or
So,
not, here it
right,
comes.
ready or not, here we come, and we're gonna do it tonight at the Rieger without the vocals. And just last week, um, I realized that it needed some vocals. I really believe that the listening audience, we do want to entertain. We don't just want to show our stuff. We want people to enjoy it. We want smiles.
Mm-hmm.
That's why everything has a groove. We want smiles, and we agreed. This it's almost too much picking without a vocal line in here. And out of nowhere, she just says, "Well, what about the Alleluia chorus?" And I'm like, "Go on." And she said, "Well, there's that one part. What if we just put the Alleluia chorus over that one part and just give it a shot?" Oh, okay, let's check it out. And bam, it worked perfectly. And so we took a couple more sections and did it differently in the other sections. Uh, but I'll tell you what, it really was satisfying. It right there, we kind of looked at each other and said, "All right, we have a song."
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, really exciting.
So I didn't realize that are you both vocalists or just you or
Uh,
just her?
she
Or,
she sings in tune.
okay, check
um,
that box.
yeah, I was in a rock band and sang some stuff, but that was years ago. I don't pride myself on vocals at all.
Me either.
Right, but like for the last 2 years, we realized that No Bow Tie uh, needed some vocals. We wanted to satisfy our audience and keep them interested and delighted. And yeah, that third dimension, we've got I won't say gimmick. We've got the theme, the thing that is no bow tie, that we're doing classical music in a far reaching way, much more than just making it bluegrass.
Mhm.
And um that we get to use our talents, that I like for it to be challenging and pressing and stuff, but vocals were missing. And so as we brought some in, like I said before, it was a lot of oohs and ahs, but right away it broke the song up and made the song much more easy to keep the listener in. And so we kept adding stuff. And now I think we've got, I'd say in a 2 hour set, half of it's vocals, half of it has vocals.
Mhm.
So going back to why I brought that up, I've gotten better at vocals. but no one, I think only one song do I actually sing like a pop tune. Hey, pretty mama, that kind of a thing.
Uh-huh.
And that one, and please edit this out if I'm going on too long, but I took the Testament de Amelia, which is just a little one-page melody, a Spanish traditional, and I combined it with Capricho Castellana. Well, I decided to the Testament de Amelia. I decided to do it in kind of a ZZ Top sound. Yeah, and it needed vocals. Oh, this I love this story. If you can stomach it.
Go for it.
Um, this was the first one. This was last April when I said, "Hey, we've got some time." So while this was going on, we were Netflixing. That's the right word.
Yeah.
Uh, we were trying to watch stuff to learn or be interested or whatever. So we got on an Alfred Hitchcock thing while I'm arranging this piece. I'm combining. And my efforts were, how can I combine these tunes to work out? And that's what I was focused on. And I realized it's going to need vocals, and it's not going to need oohs and ahs. We've got to have a storyline here. And one night we were watching Psycho, and I became aware that I was like, wow, if you're sitting in the audience, Psycho is about the hotel. Don't go in there. Don't go in there. It's about Norman, what's his name? Norman Blake?
Hey,
Bates, yeah. It's about that he's a loony and she's there, but if you're in the movie is about something completely different. Every character except Norman is interested in one thing. She stole that money.
it was the money.
The sister, the brother-in-law, the detective,
Hmm.
the banker boss, the guy who invested the money, her, everything was centered around that she stole that money. So I wrote a bunch of lyrics about that, that she went to the bank one day and, without even using a gun, robbed the place and walked out. And the next thing you know, his mama said, she's crazy. Someone's got to go. And that's what the lyrics are.
This is going to be awesome. I can't wait
It's
to
oh,
hear
we've
it.
been doing it for a while. And if you've seen the movie, it's quite entertaining.
It's been a while, but yeah, I have seen Psycho.
It was I was so thrilled. I watched it, and the everything leading up to the hotel, I forgot about it. The whole
Right.
I mean, of course I'm a big Hitchcock fan. Uh but that's a well done movie, man.
Hmm.
It's one of those movies where you don't get the whole movie in the first 10 minutes.
No, you're right. It's that very very methodically paced.
Yeah.
There's no easy sugar candy. It's you gotta go in and wait, and then it's shocking, beyond all.
Yeah. Oh, and the
Uh,
tension
yeah,
is
the
real.
tension.
The tension is real. It's not just tense because you saw someone's head fall off. The tension is like, for example, when the detective is there looking at the signatures, and Norman Bates, they show the camera from like the bottom of his jaw, and he's chewing on those candies. And he's going, "Oh yeah, I guess she was here." And he's chewing on those, and you can just tell he's getting, it's
Yeah. Oh, it's
I get clammy palms
it's
just.
brilliant. Well, and then the score, I think that's Bernard Herrmann. The music is perfect. Everything is a great element. The cinematography, the lighting, the black and white. I don't know if that's film noir or whatever that genre
Yeah,
is. The shadows are part of the characters as well. And
yeah. But anyway, I kind of got us off on a
well,
tangent.
hey,
That
that's
was that
that's
was
okay,
the
man.
big inspiration for that one, and that was our first tune that had like vocals, like a song. Hey, pretty mama, you gotta put your red dress on, that kind of a thing.
Hmm.
Everything else was oohs, ahs, and shana nas and that kind of thing. So it was kind of a breakthrough there.
That's exciting. Well, I can't wait. I can't wait to see that for the first time. That'll be awesome.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
what else? I had a few other things I was going to ask you. So you finished. You here we go. You got to May, and COVID's still here. And now here we are, almost a year into it, pretty much. So, um, I know other friends that are musicians and other in whether you're a chef or a service worker. It's just been such a difficult year. But I've always been really most concerned just about the effect that it's having on the arts and the arts community.
yeah,
And so I'm glad you're still out there making it work. Now you teach. That was my other question with COVID. So obviously you've been teaching lessons virtually,
yeah.
guitar lessons. How does that? Were you doing that already, or is this the first time with COVID that you've had to do it? And what kind of interaction? How does that work? Is it going okay?
It's going really well. I have been so fortunate. I haven't lost any students
That's
through the
great.
whole, yeah, through the entire COVID thing. And I can't say that I've gained a lot. I might have gained a couple, but haven't lost anybody. And I thought by June, I would lose half because of the economy, and it didn't happen. And I was becoming experienced with the online because when we moved to Lawrence, I was able to keep some students in Kansas City,
Okay.
and some students actually drove out here up until COVID. But I've been very fortunate, Tim.
Good.
Kept that. I didn't qualify for the unemployment thing because we lost all of our gigs because
Hmm.
I had teaching.
Hmm.
That was a sketchy moment because a year's worth of wages that are half of my income suddenly erased and not qualifying because I have some income.
Mm.
But fortunately, Myra has a job. We were thankful to have what we have. We made good of what we had. We're spending less and working more. But yeah, the interaction with the students has been great. I make deliveries, like every student gets a piece of candy after the lesson. Okay, whether you're an adult or a kid. And so I pile it up, and like every 6 weeks, I'll make a delivery to the house and put it on the front porch in a bag and leave.
Oh,
Yeah, to let them know, hey, we're people. We're not phones. We're
right.
people. And and actually, it's gone quite well. I miss seeing people and the hands-on, being able to point at the guitar.
That was my question. So not to interrupt it, like when I try to
Oh,
learn something, like if I watch a player on YouTube, I see what's going on, but it's just not the same as being able to watch somebody in person work the fretboard. It's just not. So can you
yeah.
see a student's fingers and, oh, you need to, you can't adjust their hand, you can't touch them, you can't touch the fingerboard. So how do you make those kind of corrections virtually?
Uh, Good question. We do make those corrections. Fortunately, I'm headstrong and creative, so we don't stop until we get it. So it can take longer to get it, but we do get it. So I always look at the end of each lesson. I look at, did we progress toward the goal? And when I look at that, if I think, hey, was it a comfortable lesson? Um, you know, and I'll give you a couple examples in a moment here. Was it a comfortable lesson or was it an effective lesson? And always I'd be like, oh, very effective, very effective. We didn't get to play together. That's one thing I missed is I can't play a blues
Right.
progression while you're soloing. But that's about the only thing. Because I have the book, they have the book. I've got a music stand, they've got a music stand, and I've gotten really quite good at using the describing to them. It's been a good exercise describing. I don't mean to be so positive on everything, but describing to them what to do. I've gotten better at it, and what I also do is at the end of the day, I keep a list of each lesson and what videos I want to send that they can replay. And so I'll put the phone at a certain angle and I'll go through it slow, then I'll go through it fast, or I'll go through it in sections, and I'll talk while I'm doing it. And because they can replay that, and I'll hold them responsible for it, that they get it. Those two angles coming on, that if they didn't get it completely during the lesson, I notice it. I can see the look in their eye, and of course I can see they're not demonstrating it. For example, tying eighth notes. When you're in person, you can sit there with them and pound out the beat and point while you're doing it. And so I end up sending a video, and it works. I'd say every time it works, as long as the student uses that video. Now, one experience that told me that I've had a breakthrough somehow on using the technology creatively. I have a student who is she's young. I'm going to say she's 8 or 9.
Oh, wow.
She's brand new to the instrument. The instrument is a ukulele. Uh, she is left-handed.
Hmm.
I was told that she is dyslexic, and we're online, and we've never met. And,
Wow.
it, and it's going bonkers beautiful.
Wow. That's awesome.
It is. And that's when I thought, okay, it's what you do with what you've got. I've heard, some teachers losing students, and I think I'm not there, but I think it's because they continue to try to teach the way they were. you,
Yeah.
you can't do that. You can't
You have to adapt.
right. Yeah, if you're out in a canoe and all you've got is a guitar and no boat paddle, all of a sudden that guitar makes a really good boat paddle.
Exactly.
So yeah, you have to adapt. You have to push some things around, but it's been really good. Tim, I remember when we decided to do this, there was a subject that we were chewing on that led us to want to do this. Do you remember what that was? Here,
Well, I know I wrote down something you texted me, and you said, I'm here. First of all, while you're looking for that, it's funny you are on the same wavelength as me. You said, I don't mean, you said something about being positive a minute ago. And I wrote down, one of my questions to ask you was, you promote being positive on Facebook, especially. Why so optimistic? Why are you so positive? And you are.
okay, that's an interesting subject, especially if you knew what I'm like when the camera's off.
Okay.
That I'll just say that all of my life I've had some mental struggles, and I've learned that through my thinking I can overcome them. Okay, and we all know what I'm talking about. Just we all have a certain degree of anxiety and depression in our life. I was really fortunate to realize I can overcome these things with my thinking. And quite honestly, when you see me on Facebook, I really am not just being positive. I'm being honest.
Wow.
And I really don't try to be a positive. I don't be like, oh, think
Mhm.
positive, everything will be okay. Not at all. I'm more like, hey, be realistic. There are optional ways to think. That's what I'm all about. And as a matter of fact, I told you that I'm writing a book.
Yeah, I meant to come back to that. So,
Yeah, the book is called How to Be Unique, Just Like Everybody Else. But the subtitle is answering the question, why am I here in an identity crisis world?
wow.
Well, I have answered that question, and I do know why I'm here. And I consider that to be a unique endeavor to know that, to engage it, to live it every day. And I do. Every day I do. I wake up, and the first thing I do is with pen and paper, examine my thinking and decide why I'm here. And I can answer it. And it's not just a to-do list. It's an actual, why am I alive? And I love the quote, life has no purpose short the one you give it.
That's a good one. That's really
It
good.
is. And when I saw that, I forget where I saw that. When I saw that, I was like, oh, it's an open book. Why am I waiting?
Good point.
Decide.
Right.
Decide and make it something good, for God's sakes.
Well, Well, you were looking for your, I was looking back at the text that we sent just a couple weeks last week or whatever, and I wrote down the last line you said, "I'm here to live what wants to come through me." And you had referenced how, it's been what you had to put everything aside to become and create No Bow Tie, but you've returned now playing some classical music too. And that's what your line was there. So,
That's right. Yeah. So back to COVID. And I had more extra time in the way of that I wasn't going anywhere, not in the way of everything is canceled,
mhm,
even though that's true because I fill my time. But I decided to go ahead and get back in shape with the classical guitar, which, unless you play classical guitar, it's hard to understand how much in shape you have to be from the ribs up, both arms, head, thought, all of this stuff. And I didn't realize until I got back to it and saw that I was out of shape, that it's a full body endeavor. It takes strength, it takes dexterity. And no matter how much I would play my Gibson, and I'm practicing 3-4 hours a day, no matter how much I would play that thing, I could not get in enough shape to play classical.
wow, that's
So I
interesting.
decided to just simply get back in shape. And by doing so, I started to realize how much I loved playing it because it's such a personal endeavor. I don't even have words for it. And it's not the classical music. It's that those classical pieces offer such rich, rich harmonies and counterpoint. And and really sometimes I'll say I'm not even sure I like classical music. I like the content of it. Like, I'm not a classical music buff. And I've kind of dozed off at some symphonies,
Mhm.
and kind of like, my mind was wandering, but the classical guitar, it's more of an aerobic guitar playing where there's, two and three voices being spoken. And so getting back to it in reference to that, it was like my soul, like somebody put some white gas on my soul that was, kind of burning a nice warm ember. And I just remembered how important it is. And then by playing it, I started to become more expressive. And wow, what I ended up doing is I kind of put the steel string as 1 hour a day, and then the classical as 3 hours a day
Wow.
to get on top of it, to be able to perform. And when you saw me at the Rieger last, I was just stepping up. I was still having some trouble with harder tunes and that, but it's a great feeling to get a grip on wrapping your physical being around, I'll say an instrument, but a tool, a whatever it is, to express who you are. And that's what I mean by that. And the classical guitar gave me another outlet. It's just like another sprinkler turns on, pouring out, this is who I am, And so the guitar itself, I like to play it, but I like to play me through it. And I hear that in your music. I mean, I'm sometimes I'm envious because I'll get done with a 5-hour practice session. I'll go and check out what Tim's up to, and I'll be like, wow.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, wow, that's
Thank you.
actually flowing.
Well, thank you.
Oh yeah.
I've learned how not to get in my own way and not letting, like I said, not letting what I don't know intimidate me or keep me from at least exploring and trying. So it's been a
You
fun
know more
process.
than you give yourself credit for. You do.
Maybe I do, but at least uh, I've been able to tamp down the frustrating, when we try to do something we can't, we can get frustrated, right, as
Yeah.
people. And I've been able to push that aside and just embrace that I'm not going to know it all. I'm not going to learn it all. I'm just going to learn what I learned today. And like you said, when you teach a lesson,
Yeah.
did I make progress today? And I'm never going to be the player like someone at your level or great, and that's fine. but I can still enjoy doing what I do. And I think any artist or musician has to kind of hopefully come to that,
Yeah.
find their own voice. I don't have to be anybody else. You don't have to be anybody else. Just be you, and have a voice to express yourself with. And that's
Very
that's
well
that's
put.
good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I think as we mature, that we realize, like at one time, my voice seemingly was be a great player, be a great player, be a great player. So fast stuff is great. And
Right.
it's just not true. Fast is a vehicle to convey the energy
Yeah.
of a piece. And, I try to even like, I kind of gave up on the arrangements. I thought, all right, no more fast stuff. I've lost my focus on what is great music. No more fast stuff. That's entertaining, but and I don't think people want a whole hour of that. Like,
No.
even Tommy Emmanuel sings a song,
Great
you know,
example.
and thank God he does
Right.
because, wow. And as soon as I say that, this Assad Brothers thing comes up and it's full of a bunch of fast stuff. But I thought, wait, that conveys the energy of that piece. So it's my job as an artist, if I'm going to arrange that, I don't call it fast picking anymore. I just say it's my job as an artist to do what I need to do to get it done. So if that requires some fast picking, well, I'll either get it or increase my practice time until I do, because
Right.
that's it's like, well, like with Myra, I say, if it's a great idea, do not stop until it's expressed. If it's an
Excellent.
egotistical expression, put the brakes on and find a better idea.
It's brilliant. Well put.
Yeah.
And you can go down the rabbit. You go to you go to Instagram or YouTube. There are thousands of amazing shredders out there that can, just smoke up and down the fingerboard, a million notes
Yeah.
a second. And it's kind of like, oh wow, that's kind of cool. But it really doesn't. After a little bit, I'm like, okay, but it's not really doing anything for me. It's
It
just kind of
doesn't.
yeah, it's not connecting.
Yeah.
And some of them, there are some out there that can play fast almost effortlessly, but they're saying something too, and it has
Yeah.
interest in it. So, but the shredding itself doesn't carry my attention span very long. I'd rather, it's
I
just
I detect right away when what the focus is, and especially like in shredding, I look for the voice, and I'm like, oh, the voices notice me, and I've been there,
mm-hmm,
failed miserably at it. I'm not a good shredder. I'm not. I always tell people I have to work twice as hard as my students to play stuff because I'm not that great of a player, quite honestly. I'm willing to work harder than most people work. And it's been that way since I was a kid, that I would notice that other people would get it real quickly who didn't even really want to play guitar.
yeah,
They just play guitar. And I'd be like, why do I have to work on it so much? I'm like, well, because you do.
exactly,
And, in the classicals, the same thing. I have some right hand inhibitions that I won't go into. I'll just, in a short story, I acquired focal dystonia in my right hand from repetitions with a tense hand. And, since then I've had to let go of the fast playing on it. So I've just changed my focus to just what's beautiful.
yeah,
And there's plenty of stuff to play that's beautiful.
exactly. There's so many interesting things you can do and say, and the things I keep coming back to. I mean, I listen to I don't know if you call it minimalist music anymore, or what is it, that style of like Brian Eno,
Oh yeah.
ambient music. It's like
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
that pulls me. I mean, there's nothing technical about it, I guess, per se, but it just mesmerizes me. So, yeah,
Someone asked me one time, he came from a ACDC concert, and he and the guy that I'm talking about were both Rush fans. And he goes, what's the guy's name in ACDC?
well, the guitar player is Angus Young.
Angus Young. He
Yeah.
goes, man, he was all over that thing. I couldn't believe it. He's like, I was starting to think that he's better than Alex Lifeson. And he goes, and I said, well, I don't think he is. And he said, well, what's the difference? And I said, well, the ideas.
Right. They are night and day. They're both
Yeah.
good at what they do, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I
totally.
and
That's
I
a great example.
I kind of said, I don't know if this is absolutely true. I think we were talking about two other guitarists, but he was asking me why my opinion was it was, and I said, well, put it this way. Oh, Steve Vai and Eddie Van Halen. I said, well, put it this way. I think Steve Vai could play everything that Eddie Van Halen plays. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not so sure Eddie Van Halen could play everything Steve Vai plays.
No.
Like he could maybe, but right there, it's like that maybe. It's like, it's the
Yeah.
ideas, the ideas.
I just was watching or listening to an interview with Steve Vai just a couple of weeks ago. He did a podcast with Dweezil Zappa, and they were talking about Eddie Van Halen. And the conversation got to Steve Vai saying, at this point in his life, you can tell that he doesn't want to be a shredder. He wants to make music, and he's a
Yeah.
musician and a composer, and he's not interested in being a shredder guy. And he said there are guitarists, thousands of them on Instagram, that make him look slow and sloppy.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, and I'm glad they can have that. And now I'm free to do what I want to do.
I like that. I like that. That's so freeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because guitar players, and I don't say this for everybody, but we tend to have an ego. I think one reason is the way that we grow up seeing them. They're always out front, they're down on their knees, and they're,
Yeah, they're gods.
yeah, they're doing stuff that I don't know how they do that. And
Right.
there's a bit of an ego. And even, I mean, to this day, I'm sure that in my playing that I'm hoping to impress.
Well, you do. I can assure you, you do. I come out of there thinking, damn.
Well, I'm hoping to get to let go of that. And
Well, you're not doing it. I'm not seeing you doing it trying to impress me. I just watch you play, and it's just impressive.
good
I'm
because
not picking up
yeah.
on John trying to be a poser or show me, wow, look at me.
Okay.
You're just making great music, and it's fun to watch.
I can honestly say I've kind of left it behind. Like I forget at what point. Oh, I know what it was. And working with Mike West,
Truck
he
stop
never.
hunting, truck stop
Yeah,
honeymoon.
yeah. He was never impressed by what I could play. He just looked at, is that good music? He was never like, oh, dude, man, wow, play that again. That's really never, ever. And I picked up on that, and I thought, what I'm calling fast, he's calling notey. And he's like, well, you got that one really notey part. If you could play it right.
Well,
Instead of going, man, that's great, John, you almost got it. He's like, you got that one notey
the
part.
notey part, I'll remember that. Well, it's like in Amadeus when Mozart unveils some piece, and the king is like, well, there's just too many notes.
Too many notes.
Yeah. Hey, this is about to expire in like 4 minutes. So I don't think Zoom will let me go beyond. I don't know if it will let me go beyond the hour that I booked. So if it
Yeah,
does,
well, I've got a lesson.
probably got to go anyway.
Yeah. So,
But
but man, thanks a lot for for talking about me.
we need to do a regular thing. I love it. Just
Anytime,
talking.
man. And if you ever want to do something and keep it specific and short, I'm okay talking about concepts rather than myself.
Yeah, and that's great too. We can definitely do that as well. And we got some of that in here for sure. And I know, but I love to also hear you talk about practice. I've been watching other videos. I was watching Pekka Zuckerman earlier this week, and
Yeah.
he's 70 whatever years old now, and he still practices all the time. And it's like that concept. And I've learned now I'm a much better practicer at my age than I was when I was 15 or 13. And I wish I knew then what I know now. And I just love practicing, even just a low 3-octave scale. I can go on that for an hour, and I love it. So
I will say from the COVID thing, I learned that I practice because I love myself more than I practice because I want to get better on the instrument, but I'm doing the same. But I
Yeah,
had to, it has, practicing and meditation has kept me afloat.
good.
And yeah, and the two pretty equally, that they have kept me from going absolutely bonkers. And I can honestly say that I've had a couple of instances where I really had to step outside and, you know, mentally get some fresh air through all of this, mainly politically. Um, but the practicing, I realized that, you know, like I said before, I am realizing myself through it. And we can do that with planting flowers, putting away the dishes, having a conversation, walking the dog. We
Right.
realize ourselves through it. But I want to leave you with on the practicing thing. My mom sent me a quote the other day. You probably have heard this. It's a pretty famous quote from uh, the great cellist.
Oh, Rostropovich,
No,
Yo-Yo Ma.
Casals.
Oh, is
Pablo Casals.
Pablo Casals. Yeah.
Somebody asked him why at the age of at 93 are you practicing 5 hours a day, and he said, because I realistically think I'm starting to make progress.
That's brilliant.
Isn't it true? Every time I
Yeah.
pick it up, I'm like, ooh, hey, we've got something here.
Yeah.
Every time.
That's for sure.
Tim, thank
All
you
right.
very much. That was
Thank
a
you.
bright spot of my day, and I really, again, I appreciate you spending so much time hearing about me.
Well,
So
that's why I wanted to do that. So thank you for sharing so much about you and your
you are
thoughts and your
very
concepts. So,
you are very generous,
well,
really.
hey, we'll continue to connect regularly. Okay.
Yeah, man, connect with me more by writing those tunes. You've
I'm working on another one. I should have one ready this weekend. It just takes me a long time to record them because I make mistakes so many times. I got to keep recording it till I get it right.
Oh, well, Dave, man, you should take the route, Tim, of just don't make mistakes.
I should. I'm going to work on that. I got to practice more.
You and me both. Yeah. Okay. Hey, take it
Take
easy.
care.
Thanks again, man. We'll
Be
see you.
well. Good to see you.